Hello and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. It is the first episode for the year 2022 and I welcome you to tuning in and listening to me and what is going to be on today's episode. I'm your host, Steve Smith. I hope you had a wonderful new year and this is episode number 38. Now, to kick the year off, I'm just going to let you know that this is a brand new segment. This is one that I've been thinking about how I want to bring this in to you guys, the audience, and what I want to try and show you and have you sort of get an insight from a different part of golf courses and golf clubs, and this one's called The Boardroom. Now, this one's with Susan Pace, General Manager and owner of Tallwoods Golf Club, and I will also preface this by saying I did do some work earlier in the year 2021 where Susan got me up to do a little bit of promotion for the golf course and the golf club, and I did some work on the course for them and just talked a little bit about what I thought the golf course was like and how I experienced it. And I said to Susan at the time that I knew there would come a time when I just wanted to introduce her to the podcast world. Now, this was recorded just a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, and I wanted to just have a chat with her about it and sort of their involvement behind the scenes and things like that. So, and a quick little apology about the quality of the audio. I had a couple of tech issues with reception because this is recorded over the phone and so on. So it was a little bit difficult. Just in the first sort of 5 or so minutes, there's a couple of sections where reception didn't quite work for me. It's the first time I've had this level of difficulty, and hopefully, look, I won't say it's the last, but yeah, I do apologise, a couple of little spots. Come along and listen, Susan Pace from Tallwoods. I hope you enjoy this one. It's something a little bit different. It's something I'm going to bring more of in the year 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new segment of the podcast. And I love to give everything a name. I'm going to call this one The Boardroom. And the idea is that I'm going to chat to the people that are at the top of the tree behind the golf clubs, behind golf courses. So we're talking general managers, we're talking owners, we're talking residents, the people who really make some of those key decisions. And I think sometimes it's good to get an insight, gives us an understanding of the background between clubs and how they operate and what they're trying to deliver and improve. So for the very first one of The Boardroom, I want to welcome Susan Pace, General Manager of Tallwoods Golf Club on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Welcome along. Now, I'm just going to break it down. Have you ever been part of a podcast?
I can say never.
All right. So there's a first time for everything. Righto. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So there's no nerves. One thing to remember. Okay, just remember that.
It's a bit like buying a golf course. It's the first time.
There's a first time for everything. All right. Well, look. Okay. Let's the general manager of Tallwoods Golf Club. And for those that aren't too sure, like I mentioned, the mid-north coast of New South Wales. You're up around the Foster-Tuncurry area. You're probably a little bit further north than that, and it's a unique golf resort that was built in the early 90s. You are the general manager of the club. You're an owner of the club. Tell us a little bit about your background, and does that have golf in it?
So the short answer is no. Well, a little bit. So I did attend a few industry golf days, which I did win, but God loves Ambrose. But my background is in sales and management. But in saying that, now I own a set of clubs and I am enjoying a few lessons with my pro staff because then I can inspect the course.
Very, very good. You got to have an understanding as an owner of the club. So how did Susan get involved with Tallwoods? So you don't have a golf background as such. How did it happen that you come to owning a golf course?
Okay, so my dad visited a friend who was very unwell from, many years ago, who lived on Tallwoods. And, being dad that he is, he looked at the course and said, he is a golfer, he looked at the course and said it looked very unhappy and in need of love. And he then rang me, and I was at Foster, and he said, "Can you go and have a look at it?" Which I did with my husband, and I stood there and I had this feeling in my stomach that we have the passion to get this back to where it was. I mean, who purchased Goodson? I mean, it's a 73-year-old family business, and we've never gone outside of, our business. But, I stood there and went, this is going to be a huge challenge. But I agreed with his thinking, and thinking that we could put our love on this place, and, sort of put it under the umbrella of, who we are as business people. So unfortunately, I'm not, don't have this golfing background. It was purely a business decision.
So, okay, we talk about business. Let's touch a little bit on the background of Goodson. What is Goodson? It's a family business. I love the fact that it's an Australian family business, and you and I have got to know a little bit about each other over the last couple of years through Tallwoods, and I don't shy away from the fact that I really passionate by the fact that had an Australian family connection with business here in this country, being involved in a golf course and in a golf resort. Tell us a little bit about Goodson, and like you said, stepping outside what you do for a core business. Can you tell us a bit about who you are as Goodson?
Okay, so I'd be the third generation privately owned Australian business in technology. So we've never ventured out of Goodson until we saw Tallwoods and went, we've got to do this. So Goodson was started by my grandfather back in 1970, and we're still going, which is quite unique in our industry, to be privately owned and still operating, I guess. But yeah, we had the same thing that, you've got to have the passion to make it succeed. And I guess we've applied that to Tallwoods as well.
And that is really, is that a challenge? Like, I suppose I'm going to say, is that a pretty solid challenge that you, through your father's visit to the area, you sort of kind of got involved with it? It's not every day someone goes on a bit of a couple of day, drive out of Sydney, because you're based in Sydney and gone for a trip and come away with purchasing a golf course. I'm curious as to how that crossed the line.
Okay, so Dad rang me and said, this place, it looks great and it needs love. And so, my husband and I went there, and I got the same thing. I went, we get to do so much. And I guess we apply the same passion to Tallwoods that we do to the everyday business of Goodson. And, Dad and I are very similar, that we jump and ask, how are you going to land? Where most people would want, numbers and figures, and it's, I follow my dad's lead. He's very good at picking up. He has an eye for detail of, what can go well, and I really hope I've inherited that as well. But we just saw that Tallwoods just needed just a bit of a help. And here we are, 3.5 years later.
3.5 years later, through a pandemic that people haven't seen since probably the Black Plague. Since it's been a challenging. You've had serious fires in the area in your early time.
Yes.
A few years ago, which was devastating to that mid-North Coast region, along with plenty of other parts of the East Coast. Then we had floods. Then we had pandemic. Then we had, there's nothing short of challenges at the very beginning of this ownership of Tallwoods. I mean, how have you managed to traverse that period? How has that been for you guys?
Well, I think, Steve, our first hurdle was, Jeff, our pro, being severely hurt in a fire, which then, I don't know, it was like a resilience that said we must go on, because, and that I'm very passionate about the staff at Tallwoods. And,
indeed,
we needed we needed to go forward to show to them that someone's there to care. And look, we've had everything now. Well, I think we have. Touch wood, we have. So,
and I'll ask you then, I'll probably mention more than anything. So I'm not going to shy away from this one. I'm going to just throw it at you. And Tallwoods for a while was considered by many golfers and traveling golfers as somewhere to avoid due to its checkered recent past. And you have a bit of a chuckle, and I did as well, because I did my research before I went up, because I had been told a number of things by a number of people within the industry about Tallwoods' checkered past. And I think you've only got to do a little bit of Googling and you'll come across all sorts of things. But there's this difficult time that is in a lot of people's memories about Tallwoods in that recent period, far from the fanfare of the early 90s opening up, when there was golf courses popping up all over the east coast of Australia, and they were everywhere and lots of money was being bandied around. There was this tough time, and Tallwoods had a tough name and a time for people to avoid. How have you sort of gone about trying to change and turn that perception? Because that's a difficult thing in the world of golf to change. How have you been working through that at Tallwoods?
And the first thing I'd say is golfers just hang on to their, their thoughts. So I guess social media was a good outlet, but a hindrance. I mean, every time I put a photo or a special out, oh, wow. I was like, and the shoulders that I had to get were, very broad. But in saying that coming from a sales background, the proof's in the product. So what I did was I met with the team and I said, you know how we're going to shut these guys up? We're going to get the product so good that we're going to invite them for free, or, do all these promos to get them to experience Tallwoods, us, because I'm a person that doesn't believe that you can, sort of rate on someone's past. The past is past, you can't fix it. The future you have control over. So I've always done our green fees in accordance with the level of the course. So I think we got voted last year, the best, cheapest course or something, which hurts us. This course was amazing, but it was a stepping stone into how we build this and the confidence in the golfers. So we did do a lot of social marketing and just sort of put it out there and said, you know what, guys, criticize us, but we want you to come on the journey and be a part of the journey. So now, 3.5 years in, the course is, improved amazingly. And people are going, oh, I'm really sorry about that comment that I said, 3 years ago. And the comment 3 years ago was well-deserved.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the other thing, it was crap. And the other good thing that we did is we stood there on the front line and said, tell us how you feel. And we'd speak to every single person and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I mean, being the eighth person to the dance is pretty hard. But, being Goodson of 73 years, that was our backing of how we go into business. And it's proven, the proof's in the pudding, as I say, because being the background that I am of sales, your product is what you're selling. And I think the key that what we're doing with Tallwoods is, not being a golfer or any golfing background, I need to build the product.
So you're almost taking the product on its merits. There's no emotional attachment to, this golf course, it should be like this, and this is how it was designed, and this is what it was built like, and we should be doing this quality. You're just sitting there going, we need to deliver a quality experience for anyone who's coming to pay to experience it. And that's our job. And if we can do that based on the feedback from those that are paying, well, then we're kicking the right goals and we're heading in the right direction.
And I know that might upset a lot of people, but correct. That's my view.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, when I'll jump in here and I'll stick my hand up and I say, that was me. I was one of those people that got tagged in to come and play Tallwoods, or say it with a chuckle, to go and play Tallwoods with a group of friends that found one of your cheap ads that was come and play Tallwoods for, and look, I don't know if it was 30 or 40 bucks or something a head, and then with 2 or more people and you got a cart and so on and so on. That was how that got us there. We would never have gone, and I would never have researched into Tallwoods history or who was there to question going. That the guy said, it's cheap, haven't played there, let's go. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. The first thing in my head was history because that's what I'd already heard. But they were, don't worry about it, let's go and play. And when we got there and what we experienced value for money wise, if we're taking it on that raw factor, which a lot of people use as a metric to whether they're going to return or how their experience is bang for buck. We were all walking out of there singing its praises, clapping our hands, going, when are we going back? And since that time, I've been lucky enough to come up and see the place again with you and have a couple of games of golf and just see how it had improved since that very first time. I was getting really impressed by, one, what you were saying when I suppose I was pressing questions because I was one of those people that was like, you're not from a golf background. How are you going to make it work? I was really, I'll be blunt, and I'm sure you knew that I was kind of grilling you in that way to find out, is this going to stick? Are you going to hang around? And the passion that you were talking to me in really set me back to go, I don't think I've come across anyone from Australian business that has this passion for golf, for a golf course, let alone this golf course. So I was one of those people that got dragged to you from that cheap sale. And now I've seen the changes over the years, and it's been incredible to see. And you talk about where your path is and that you've still got a way to go. I don't think anyone, least of all you guys, are sitting there going, we're done. We're where we want to be. You've still...
Oh, God, no.
A long way to go.
We haven't finished yet.
And we'll leave that in the pocket because we'll talk about that a little bit later on for the moment. But that's a bit of an idea of how you're trying to change that perception. And a bad name in golf is very hard to come out of. I know that because it was part of my club.
I've worked that out. And I just go, and coming from the business, of technology, I mean, there's no one more forgiving than in technology, except for golf. And I just went, what do you mean? And I knew we had to prove ourselves like never before.
Yep.
And that meant me on the ground, doing things, and my husband, and just proving ourselves like we've never proved ourselves before.
And you guys,
that was important.
It is important, you're right, and you're very hands-on when it comes to this. This is something that you're not sitting back in the Goodson office in Sydney going, we need to be on top of this, guys, up at Tallwoods, make sure you're across it. You guys are travelling up there regularly to be part of the team to help get this thing where everyone, and I say everyone as a group because you've got an amazing team there of people that and members that are trying to that you're part of with in this collective. Talk to us a little bit about what that means to have a team and a group of members like that you have there.
Oh, there's nothing better. The camaraderie up there is something I've never seen before. I mean, when we first did the exchange of Tallwoods, I remember standing there with a glass of champagne that someone gave me going, oh, hell, how are we going to do this? I'm not a golfer. But since then, it's just been beautiful. I mean, the staff up there, I take my hat off. I've never in my 30 years met staff like those guys up there. And they're a crucial part in making this happen. And the members, I mean, they've had a terrible past. They don't know whether they're going to have a golf course or a, cattle yard or, but that's the truth. I mean, it's beautiful land and it could have been turned into a cattle farm.
Yeah.
So I will never forget, like you don't in business, who was there when things were real. And, we had to prove ourselves to the members because we're, a few owners in. And, I kept saying, hey, we've owned the other company for 73 years. We're not going anywhere. We're stayers. But, we had to earn their trust. So that was the message to the team that, hey, guys, we are real people that believe in a dream. And, we're not afraid to work for that dream. And, the guys 3.5 years in are just going, wow. And that's our personality. I mean, you've met me personally. I'll work, whatever hours it takes. But there's people and there's members that are relying on us. Tallwoods as a course is relying on us. And that's what we'll do till it, till I retire. But, yeah.
There's a lot being shouldered. Well, hopefully so.
But we're super passionate. And if we commit to something, we commit to it.
And you've got, I briefly mentioned some team members who have been there for a long time. And I know your superintendent, Andrew Gorton, who I went up there and got a chance to have a chat to when I was going around having a game. And he was kind enough to show me a lot of the stuff. I think he's been there for something like 20 years through. And I can't imagine what someone, and there may be other staff members, I don't know, that have been there for that long. But Andrew was telling me about, the extreme level of up and down that he's experienced in his time, and to get to a place now where I suppose that's all starting to be evened out a little bit. There's a distinct path and a future of that vision. And, part of having people like that, they're key, aren't they, to understanding, especially when it comes to managing landscape. I find that knowledge is nearly invaluable.
Crucial. And, those guys, when we met them, they lost all their entitlements for being, sort of with the business for 20 years. And, if those guys don't know Tallwoods, sorry, no one does.
Very true.
And I did go up there the other week, and Tallwoods is looking beautiful. I don't know the ins and outs of everything, but, I said to him, thank you so much. And I did get teary. And his words to me were, no, thank you for letting us have the chance. I mean,
wow.
Where do you find staff like that have hung on through the most horrendous times?
Yeah.
And they've just waited for someone to love Tallwoods as much as they do.
Yeah, you've shown them that you have that in you, and the business behind, the company behind you guys. If people are up there visiting, they will see you in the club, in the pro shop, or outside. They'll see your husband Steve up there. I think Steve said he loves getting out on the mowers and helping out. Yep. You've got a wonderful group, I know, of volunteer lady members, female members that help out on course, along with some of the men as well. That there's this real sense, like you talked about, the camaraderie. It's a real passion for those who have been involved with the course, that they now can see that we've really got someone else in with us, that we can all row together in the same direction here and really make this what we believe and we know it can be.
And that's important because, our volunteers give so many hours, and it's not a money game for us. It's not. And that message has now got across. I've told you personally that, we want to retire up there. And it's just, I've never in my career had such a joy as Tallwoods.
That's incredible to hear. Incredible to hear. And I'm sure
we're so fortunate.
Well, and I'm sure that sort of passion is, in conversation. Like I said, I've been up there and I've played the courses, and I've seen the member. I've spoken to the members, and they just love talking about, take the position the club's in today, the courses in today. They love talking about what's so good about the whole place, the local area, the golf course, the people there, that they really have this passion, and it comes across when you visit. And now I think you're starting to get more visitors. People are traveling a lot more out of Sydney to experience different golf. And I think, I've experienced Tallwoods a few times now, and I enjoy it. I think it's quite different, and I really enjoy it there. But the members and the staff are really welcoming. And I think that's a wonderful part that's attached to Tallwoods. They've stuck through so much. And I think it's a really beautiful part of any club to have welcoming people like that, which Tallwoods does so good. Tell us a bit about the improvements to both the club and the course that you guys have been part of. And some of these things are, things that you've been part of purchasing, you've brought in, so whether we're talking machinery out on course or staff, or what are some of the things that have happened for you guys at Tallwoods?
Wow, there's a big list. But when I went down to, so this is not me knowing golf course maintenance at all. I went down to the machinery shed, and, Paul, who's been with us for, I think, 23 years, and Andrew for 22 years, I looked at the machinery and I just went, is that what you're using? I went, yeah, but it's okay. We'll get it going. And I think the next sort of 2 months, I had 6 new machinery delivered. Now, I'd still say one of my highlights of my career was watching them when they were delivered, because you cannot use crap equipment to get the course to where we wanted. No. So I think the first thing was we had 6 new machines, and those guys, I think, didn't wipe the smile off their face for, months. They went, holy, how did you make that happen? And I said, well, to do a good job, you need the right equipment.
Yep.
And then I think we bought some golf carts. God, there's been so much we've bought. But
there's a list along the way, and it's a bit of there's a lot to, and that gets back to like what you said at the beginning, people's experience. You've got to deliver something to those coming and paying that they know that this is real. They know that the path is being walked as a club, as a golf course, as a facility, as an experience, that every time they come back, something's improving. And I've recently done on the podcast, I've spoken to a number of superintendents in my Keeper of the Green segment, and they always talk about every time people return, it's about the 1%ers and the 5%ers, so that when even the best golf courses in the country, in the Barn Bugles of the world in Tassie, Phil Hill was saying it's the 1%ers. That Richard Sattler, the owner, wants to make sure that when someone comes back in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, that they come back and they go, this is better than it was when I was here 6 months ago. It's always seen a level of improvement. No
better. And being there now 3.5 years, we're at that point, and I love it. That's what drives me to go, okay, I'm doing this, and I mean, I did say to you that we bought a recent machine, and the guys are fighting to be on the machine. And, and they're like, really? This happens? I mean, we say to our ground staff, we got, when you ask us for something, there's yes, no, get me more information. So there's no going to a board. So the guys are loving it.
Yeah.
And that we hand over everything.
Oh, no, of course.
To me.
And that's a good part that you've built that communication level with your team, with the people that are helping maintain the space and create that environment and that experience and deliver a product, that there's that level of communication between, you guys. Like I said, this is the boardroom segment. We're talking to those that make the decisions, but also the ones out there who are the experts in getting that product to what you wanted as an expectation level. So we need this, and this is where we've got to go. It's great that there's that level of communication between the two, because you have to all be on the same page. And I go back to moving in the same direction, because that's a difficult thing to do in any organisation, and clubs seem to be one of those in the quite difficult category. There's lots of different types of people involved.
absolutely agree. But where we're coming from, I mean, those guys are Tallwoods, you know, and we respect them and we respect that we have a common goal. I mean, it's pretty simple. You know, they know what, I mean, when we bought Tallwoods, I think I said to you, you know, we were 7 years behind in chemicals.
Yeah.
We've just aerated the fairways that haven't been done for 20 years.
Yeah, that was I remember talking to Andrew, and he got the new one of the new machines, a Ventrac machine with the aerator, I think, attachment, and he was so excited it was coming. You were sending photos to me about this is what the boys are doing. It's the first time in 20 years that it's been happening.
20 years.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah. And
but we all share the same passion, so that's where it's so good.
That drives. It's a hard thing to have, but if you've got it, it's the biggest driver, and I think it's fantastic. Absolutely. The passion behind. Now, I make no secret that I'm a fan of Tallwoods as a golf course. To enjoy it, I love it. It's for people listening, if they've not been to Tallwoods, it's a very dramatic piece of ground, a dramatic location. It's the only Herds and Fry designed golf course in Australia, and I love that there's some really unique locations on the golf course where I just had wow moments. And I'm going to ask you as an owner, what is somewhere on the golf course? Because I've got mine, I've talked about them, I've photographed them and shown it on social media through the Golf and Greenkeeper. As an owner and as someone that's not a true passionate golfer with that golf experience over many years, you're someone who's looking at a course in a different way. What's somewhere on the course for you when you go up and visit to do work that you just love to go and have a look at from view across? What's a location on the course or have you got a couple?
I've got one. So and I think we're gonna agree on this one. It's the 17th. The black tees on the 17th with the spectacular views to the ocean. And there's a reason that I love that place is when I went to Tallwoods and I thought, oh, how can we do this? I stood up there and, you know, that view and looking over the course, you just cannot beat the feeling of, you know, that 17th. It's just the most amazing. And every time I go to Tallwoods, I make a point of going to the 17th. Even if I'm strapped for time, I will go to the 17th and I'll have a moment. And it is just the most spectacular place. It's just, yes, it's a challenging, you know, par 4, but you cannot beat that.
We do agree. I'll put it out there. We do wholeheartedly agree with each other. And I think many, many other visitors agree with that as well. It's for anyone listening, Tallwoods is a golf course. It's set down low with lots of really high ridges, predominantly around the golf course. And every now and then you get a couple of rises where you hit up to a green and then you'll walk up to an elevated tee like the 4th tee as well. But when you get to finish the par 3 16th, and you make this trek like a billy goat up the towering trees and these ridge lines and the towering beautiful homes, you get to the top and your breath is completely taken away with that view across everything to the Pacific Ocean, which I had no idea you could see from the location you are, because you're kind of near the coast, but you're not on the sand dunes, you're not on the beach, but you got this view and it's just so dramatic. It's beautiful. We were there with our group and you just want to take photos. We're hitting golf balls left, right and center. How long does it take to hit the fairway? It's just fantastic. And I know so many people love it.
That's my spot.
It is magic. And is it Rosie's chair that's up that way as well?
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit of that story?
Funny. So when I went to go up there and think about what I was, you know, getting into, I thought, oh, God love Rosie. You know, she must have been a special lady. And I went down to the restaurant and bar and I said, oh, you know, and they said, where have you been? I said, oh, Rosie must have been a special lady to have a chair there. And I was actually speaking to Rosie. She said, I'm very much alive, darling. And I thought, oh, God. So that chair is, and Rosie now lives on site, and I call her my second mum, but it's very special to her and her husband, who's just recently passed. So that has such a special connection, that spot. And I did actually get permission last week that I could put my own little reclining chair there. So, but it's just such an amazing, as you said, you just don't expect that you're going to get that beautiful view. And it's serenity.
It's almost a crescendo as you play your way around the course, and like I said, there's a lot of long holes there. That it's a interesting site, a bold American design with Herds and Fry, who are known for difficult courses as well. But when you get to that point, it's like you just forget everything that's just happened, and then you're about to tee off this wonderful hole, and the final two holes to finish your round. It is magnificent. Yeah. I want to talk about Tallwoods. In its location, it's near Diamond Beach, which is a little bit of a popular holiday area. We talked about Foster Tuncurry nearby. There are other golf courses nearby for people if they want to come up to that part of the world to settle in and play golf. But you're not near a large city. So one of the things that you've recently done is you've built some on-site accommodation. Was that a difficult decision? Obviously, there's a big expense behind building that level of infrastructure. We're hearing more about golf courses providing accommodation if they're not near local, unit blocks and towers and things that are easy to access. That to me is a big bonus for your course and your club to have people there to experience it. I think you need to play Tallwoods a couple of times to appreciate it and enjoy it. Was that a difficult thing to do, to spend that level of investment to get accommodation there, knowing that you don't have a big city, you don't have a Newcastle down the road or anything like that?
No, so, soon after taking over the management of Tallwoods, I realised that Tallwoods was a destination. So it needed to be treated like that. And it did have accommodation years ago. And I could see on the previous numbers that it kind of did well then. So that was pretty much one of my first things that I said, that we needed to invest in the on-site accommodation. And we needed it to be close. We needed it to be, good enough to encourage the groups and, tournaments, in the future. Because we're all about building for the future of Tallwoods. So it was a really easy decision. And the proof's in the pudding. It is constantly booked out, which is great. And that's what we needed. They do play and stayers up there, and, they come for 2 days and then they go, can we extend for 2 days? That's what we wanted to hear. So, no, it was a hard decision financially, but easy on the future of, how we're going to make this work.
Yeah, and I was early on, I think just as you were opening them there, I got a chance to go and have a look at them and stay there, and it was fantastic too. I love the fact, earlier this year I went to Barnbugle down in Tassie. They're away from any large place of accommodation available. They've got their own on-site accommodation, and it made for a really good golf experience. As a golfer, I'm a golfer, I don't shy away from that either, to stay there and be on site to maximize golf, to stay at Tallwoods, to do the same thing. I'd previously gone there and played for the day, and it's a long drive from Sydney up in the morning and drive all the way home afterwards. To stay there and play golf, I got to really take in so much. I got to play a heap of golf, and I really enjoyed that. You go to the club afterwards, you have a drink, you have a feed for breakfast in the morning. All those things make up the experience, and I'm a big fan of Tallwoods in that sense now that you have that addition. And I think it bodes well for, like you said, for people moving forward. And you're doing a few other things there at Tallwoods, and you're building there's more investment coming in. Tell us about a few of the other things you've got.
So, in the very early stages, we did up a master plan. And even through COVID, we're still on track with our master plan. But Very proud to say that our practice green is just waiting for me to take the first putt. And that that was a big investment because you used to sit at Tallwoods and the practice green was terrible. And so we dug it out, I think, a metre down because it was all, yuck. So we spent a lot of money on that. And then I've now done a dedicated groups area because, having the corporate background and connections that I do, then they like their own area and their own carts. So we just had the Qantas group up last week and they loved it.
Wow,
They had all
that's
their
awesome.
own carts in their own shed, clubs still on overnight. They could do their, daily tournament, how they were going in their own area, not be in the beer garden. So we've got that. And of course, we've got an on-site chapel, which is going to be opened, I think, early next year.
That a chapel, like for weddings.
Yes. I say weddings, wakes, whatevers.
Wow. Now that's another level of investment again.
Oh, and it is a world-class building. I mean, this is beautiful.
That's unreal. So you've got this chapel being built for weddings, wakes, whatevers, as you put it. What does that do for you? You've had the Qantas group up for the group area you've just built. We've got a new putting green coming online, just about to be ready for play. And a chapel, I look at this and I'm going, this is looking like different areas of income, and having the chapel on site is another means to, we had this sort of stuff at where I was at Katoomba. We'd have weddings and we'd have functions and we'd do all this sort of stuff. This is about making Tallwoods a destination on the whole, on a bigger level again. Is that kind of where that's going?
Yeah, correct. I mean, look, Tallwoods is a village. So it should have its own sort of resources locally. The chapel is also going to back up as a conference centre.
Wow.
So, if you come up for training, as I often attend, with the other business, then you can have your team building playing golf or foot golf, and you'll be able to do your training in the chapel. We're not necessarily, doing weddings, but it's a multifunction building, and that's what it was aimed to be. And then, there's other plans. But, the chapel was something that my dad was very passionate about. He had a very strong scouting background.
Okay.
So I guess that's his, sort of landmark on the world. And he just wanted it to be at Tallwoods, at his special place.
I think all those things can only be massive positives, and these are business decisions. This isn't an emotional decision to do these things. There's a method behind this that makes for the local area, for people to come in and enjoy the space. And ultimately, look, I always look at it from a golf course point of view, and I'm looking at it a little bit through Andrew, your superintendent's eyes, and going, any way I can get more people to see how good this course is, I'm all for it. I don't care how.
We always knew from the get-go that you're not going to make money from golf. You need to sort of outsource into other revenues to make this work. So this is just, the bungalows were, project 1, the chapel's project 2, and there's more to come.
And it's a resort golf course. It's something that's what Tallwoods is as well. So it, in a sense, like you said, you're not a huge member-based golf course. It's not like a metropolitan course where you've got lots of people surrounding it. You've got a good core group of members there and some locals that are part of the club, but you don't have this massive wave of, hundreds upon hundreds and hundreds of people into thousands of members. And you have to look at it at how it's going to be able to pay its own way. And it's not, it's that resort style. So it's a multi-use space. And I think that's going to be a great thing for Tallwoods coming in as well. One of the things I wanted to touch on, probably finishing up on the talk about what you've got there and how you've done everything, is the environmental side of a golf course and the use of the land. And I've seen more recently that you've had someone involved on the course they've been putting up some fauna habitat boxes around the golf course to foster some of the local fauna on site. What is that? Is that something that you're looking to improve on as well? Is the local environmentally the way that the course sits in the local area?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I met with a lady called Kim, and she said, we'd love to be able to put some boxes up and in some trees. And I said, God, the one thing I've got, it's a lot of trees. So I said to her, put them up. I welcome that because everything that we've Tallwoods back in the day had 0 trees. So they were all planted by the first owner, and they were planted to be sort of trimmed, which they never have. But I mean, the guys are great. We're getting all these, these bats, and I welcome that because we want to encourage wildlife into Tallwoods. Why shouldn't they enjoy it as well? I mean, you've played there and you've seen Jurassic Park. I mean, there's so many water dragons there now. It's serious. But yeah, I mean, they've done an amazing job. I think they've got something like 30 boxes up in our trees, and they do everything. They build them, they put them up. They're just grateful to have the trees. And there's one thing we can offer is trees.
It's the trees.
So yeah, very welcoming to that. I mean, it's part of the experience. Bring into the wildlife because it's theirs.
Yeah, and the landscape. It's so great to have that integration of both sides, and the environmental side I think is a key part to golf courses moving forward, and that you guys are going down that path now as well, which is so good to see. Look, Susan, it's been wonderful having you on the podcast as a different angle for people to understand golf courses. And look, there's no shame in hiding around this. We are highlighting what's happening up there at Tallwoods with you guys behind it, and how the club and the course as a whole are moving forward back to what I think it sounds like your vision is to get back to its days when it opened with a lot of fanfare of this big new flash golf course that was a destination. Well, now you're trying to make sure that Tallwoods can become a destination that was much enjoyed by many golfers in those early days.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, we just want golfers to see Tallwoods as the challenging, beautiful course that it was. And, we're bringing it back.
So very good to hear. Well, thank you, Susan. Wonderful. And I look forward to hopefully hearing from some of my followers as well, that they might experience Tallwoods over the holiday period, being that we can't travel interstate and there's other courses to visit. So thank you very much for giving us an insight into your passion behind Tallwoods, your involvement, and also the club, your members and the staff as well, in making it such a welcoming venue. So thank you for being part of the podcast.
Thank you for your support.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What a great little chat that was with Susan, General Manager of Tallwoods Golf Club. And just to let you know, since that recording, a couple of things have happened where the putting green is now open. That's another bonus to the facility, to the golf club itself. The members are enjoying that new space, and I believe a chapel is just around the corner if it hasn't already opened. So lots of things going on with a bright future ahead for Tallwoods, and somewhere that, hey, if it hasn't been on your radar, I'm just going to say it because I can. Go there and have a visit, or think about going there. You can stay on site, and if you've never done that before at a golf club or a golf course, if you've never stayed on site, it's such a cool thing to be able to do. You can literally get so much golf in. It is so good and so enjoyable with food. You got the club there. All those things make a bonus to any golf club that you can stay on site. And I know that there's plenty of courses that do it, but Tallwoods, this is new for them, and I think it's a great addition, like I mentioned in the conversation. So thank you very much to Susan Pace for that one. Hope you guys enjoyed it for something a little bit different, and I'm really looking forward to maybe a little bit of a messaging, a few comments from you. I'd love to hear your feedback about it. And look, it's a first for a female. That's the other reason I wanted to get Susan on as well. We don't often hear about females in the decision-making processes of golf clubs and golf courses. So I thought that was really important to sort of hear about her side of things and how she goes about things and how the club are doing it under her direction as well, which is great. And they've got, a young female trainee pro there. I know Piper, she does a great job in the pro shop, and she can certainly play golf too. Don't worry about it. Great little community around the club and within the staff, as you heard Susan talk about. So look, a lot of good things there. I hope to bring you a bit more of a female voice this year as well. That's something I think is really important to see, how females are taking on leadership roles and doing more work in the golf industry, certainly behind the scenes, into greenkeeping as well, leadership roles and the like. So something I'll bring to you more as well. But love to hear your feedback about this one, guys. So like I said, message, comment, DM, whatever you want to do, email, don't mind. Happy to talk. And please like, share, subscribe. As always, thank you to you guys for tuning back in for the year 2022 to listen to a new one. You hit him clean, we'll keep him green. And I've got a brand new Keeper of the Greens brought to you by Australian Turf Analysis coming at you next week.